We got some more information on Avowed, and it sounds like it's going to be an amazing game. Microsoft is actually working on some interesting prototype VR controllers, and Quake has gotten that next generation upgrade. So one of the most anticipated Xbox Game Studio games, I think for a lot of people, is Avowed, coming from Obsidian. Obsidian is an amazing developer. I mean, we've seen what they have done with the Outer Worlds, and when they showed off Avowed, a lot of people were making comparisons to Elder Scrolls and that this was going to be Obsidian's Elder Scrolls game. Well, we finally got some more information of the game, what we can expect, and just some of the gameplay elements that will be involved with it. Now, this comes via Windows Central and Jez Corden, who was actually lucky enough to see some footage of Avowed in a pre-alpha state. So it says here, sources familiar with the internal plans have reached out to us in recent months offering details on Avowed, moving through pre-production towards playable alpha state. And it seems like they're actually close to getting an early working version of the game. The game is actually going to be based on an enhanced engine from the Outer Worlds, and it is going to have action-oriented first-person combat as well as a deep RPG exploration and narrative systems. I mean, that's something we kind of knew and expected from Avowed, that it was going to be a deep RPG, that there was going to be some really cool narrative dialogue options within the game. But this here is just kind of comparing that. There's going to be also multiple classes and play styles that they say borrow from Skyrim's two-handed combat system. So you're going to be able to do things like wield two daggers and be a stealthy rogue, or dive into archery with two-handed bows. As well as there's going to be a variety of magic within this game, and you're going to be able to use magic, use swords, and kind of choose how you want to play and how you want to go through Avowed. For Pillars of Eternity fans, which I'm sure a lot of people who are excited for Avowed, who like Obsidian games, are going to be Pillars of Eternity fans, there will apparently be lots of similarities between Pillars of Eternity and Avowed. Some of the things here, like the wizard spells and the jolting touch, and being able to actually fry your enemies with lightning or melt them with fire spells. As also says here, I also saw status effect spells like Fetid Karis imbuing enemies with corrosive poison. So there's just going to be a lot of stuff going on here. You're going to really choose the type of magic you want to use. There's also going to be weapon enchantments, which I always find super cool when you're able to just kind of enhance your weapon with magic, with having arrows that freeze enemies, arrows that have fire, all that kind of stuff. And there's going to be, they say here, Pillars of Eternity style guns like muskets. And in terms of the overall combat and its comparison to Elder Scrolls, Avowed looks like it's going to be more loadout based compared to how Elder Scrolls was. But overall, it just sounds like it is going to be a really deep RPG with tons of choice, lots of narrative elements to it, and very kind of similar in style to Pillars of Eternity and Elder Scrolls, kind of Obsidian's take on that type of game. Now, they say here that the way that the game is going to look is that apparently it's going to be more colorful and it's going to be more reminiscent of the Outer Worlds. And that's not something I think a lot of people would have expected after seeing that first kind of CGI trailer. I at least thought it was going to be more of the gray and black sort of tones, like Elder Scrolls, or green tone, stuff like that. Not as bright as the Outer Worlds, but considering Obsidian made the Outer Worlds, looked really good. I absolutely loved all the colors. If they're going to take some of those elements, throw them into Avowed and give us more of the fantasy style of an RPG, I can't wait to see how that's going to look and what their take of that setting and those colors together will be. And just a couple more interesting things that are mentioned here. They say that it looks like there potentially is going to be destructible environments. You're going to be able to swim. You're going to be able to set fields on fire and leaves on fire and stuff like that. And on top of that, it looks like they're not sure if it's going to be completely open world or more along the lines of the Outer Worlds, where you have like the hubs and you have different areas of the maps that you go to, and then you have more linear kind of narrative elements in those worlds. So there's a lot of information here. This game looks like it is closer to a state where we're going to be able to see actual footage of this game, actual gameplay of this game. So maybe by E3 2022, potentially we've heard at the Game Awards. I really hope it's at the Game Awards, but it may be a little bit pushing it if they're still in the pre-alpha state. But this game was already pretty high up in my list of Xbox Game Studio games I was really excited for, but after reading this article, if you want to read it fully, I'll have it in the description below. But after hearing everything, kind of what Obsidian is going for with Avowed, it's definitely way up there. It's going to be an amazing RPG to check out if we can base it off of Obsidian's previous work. So one of the things when it comes to the Xbox consoles, the Xbox Series X and S, is will ever VR make its way on to the consoles? I've made videos in the past talking about VR and Xbox, and I can see in the comments that people do want to see VR come over to the consoles, but it seems like Microsoft really isn't interested in that right now. I think if they do ever bring VR over to the Xbox Series X and S, one of the smartest things they could do is just open up the consoles for people to use any VR headset on there, ones that are already available and usable on PC. On the other hand, it also looks like Microsoft isn't fully moving away from VR, as there is this controller prototype that they are working on called the X-Ring. Now basically this controller is made up of a bunch of different rings, and its point is to just increase the immersion of holding objects within VR, whether like you're holding a sword, whether you're holding a vase, whether you're holding a randomly shaped object. And this controller is going to be able to adjust to the object that you're actually holding. So here's what it says. The controller is made up of 4 rows of plates arranged in a ring formation around part of the circumference of the controller's grip. And these plates can adjust in a 2-centimeter range and an impressive 100 millisecond speeds, meaning the adjustments happens in just a few rendered frames. So it's pretty cool. There's actually an entire video out about the controller itself, showing kind of how it works and how it changes depending on what you're actually holding. So here this person's holding an axe, and the rings are going in and out depending on the shape of the item on the screen. And I think this is actually really cool. I think the more that VR advances, I mean, it was already very immersive with the actual resolution within each headset, but there's so much more that can happen with VR in terms of immersion and the controllers and stuff. Because right now you have the controllers and you're only holding one singular shape in your hand, and you're kind of moving it around. There's different vibrations and stuff, but this is something that will increase the immersion of the feeling you get depending on what you're doing within the game. So it's super cool. You see here he's grabbing a cup. There's another one where he actually breaks like a vase or something, and when he crushes it, the controllers move in, so it really seems like you're breaking something. And it also kind of indicates that Microsoft isn't giving up on VR. In the future, we may see some more peripherals from Microsoft and potentially some Xbox VR at some point down the line. But like I said, I think the best thing that Xbox could do is just open up the console in order to have any PC VR headset usable on the Xbox Series X and S. So a little while ago, we got Quake on Xbox Game Pass from QuakeCon. That's when they announced it, and they said that next generation upgrades would be coming. And it looks like they're here for the Xbox Series XS and PlayStation 5, where you're now going to be able to check out Quake at 4K 120 frames per second. So Quake obviously is a retro shooter. It was very popular when it first came out back in the day. It's one of those shooters that really opened up the world for first-person shooters. There's different puzzles, and you're going through dungeons and stuff like that. It's overall a really cool and fun game. If you haven't checked out Quake ever in your life, I would definitely highly recommend checking it out, especially now as it has that 4K at 120 frames per second. I think it's going to look really good. And yeah, it's retro. It has those old-style graphics, but we've seen what these older games can look like when they get the enhancements, especially on the Xbox Series X and S with the backwards compatibility, how some OG Xbox games look brand new because of the higher resolution, because of the higher frame rates, and because of that auto HDR stuff. So I'm pretty excited to check this out and see what it looks like in 4K at 120 frames per second. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Are you more or less excited for Avowed now based off of the information we've received? Do you want to see Xbox bring VR to the Xbox consoles, and are you going to be checking out Quake at 120 frames per second in 4K? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you like what you saw throughout this video, you found it entertaining and informative, I'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to help this channel grow, help grow this community so we can have great conversations in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.